is forming a foundation for a whole new volume of jurisprudence, not only in America but in the world. And since Henrietta Lacks' genetic makeup, her cells are the cornerstone of modern medicine, where this lawsuit, we seek to make the cornerstone of this new body of law called genetic justice. This notion that justice should go from one generation to the next, just as her cells has had a profound effect on generations of Americans and people all over the world. We endeavor to make sure that her family can derive benefit for generations to come, for her children and children yet unborn to be able to benefit. You know, the profound question, Chris and Kim, that is often discussed in the black community is, why is it that Henry Ford's family can define his legacy and benefit from his legacy? The DuPont family can define his legacy and benefit from his legacy. The Rockefeller legacy, Kennedy legacy, every other person who has contributed significantly to society gets the right to define the legacy of their loved one and benefit from that legacy. But when it comes to black people, others get to define our legacy, and others get to benefit from our legacy. Well, Henrietta Lacks' family is coming 70 years to the day from when she died and left this earth to say that they will define the legacy of Henrietta Lacks, that they will benefit from the legacy of Henrietta Lacks, and that they will pass her legacy on to generations of her flesh and blood from this day forward. This lawsuit means a lot more to them than just a legal pleading. It is the essence of who this black family is. And so I'll say just a few more points, and then you will hear from my co-counsels, and most importantly, you will hear from the family. We have to put this in full context. When you think of the context of when her cells were taken 70 years ago, what was going on in America with all this medical experimentation, which was tantamount to medical racism when you really think about it. As we pled in our lawsuit, you think about what happened with the Tuskegee experiment in Macon, Alabama. You think about the Mississippi appendectomy, where they lied to black women to perform medical procedures and they sterilized them. When we think about the black soldiers in World War II that were being experimented on with gas masks and gas chambers that caused their bodies to bubble up and be distorted. And when they complained, why are you doing this to us and not the white soldiers too? They were punished by being put in prison. You think about all of that, and you see what happened at Johns Hopkins was not something that was unique. It was something common practice to experiment with black people as lab rats. And the sadness that Henrietta Lacks was used as a lab rat in the most inhumane manner. The fact that they put radioactive radium rods in her body for an experiment that they knew would not make her better. It was an experiment for their own malicious devices. The fact that not only is this criminal because it was a very painful assault when they stole her cells from her body, but it was so sad when you think about this caused the last months of her life to be in agony, god awful pain and suffering. And they didn't care because black women at Johns Hopkins at that time was being used as lab rats, worse than guinea pigs. And we come here to say this generation has a choice to make. These pharmaceutical companies, Johns Hopkins, and everybody else who in any way derived any benefit from the illegal taking of Henrietta Lacks cells and the magnificent treatment of Henrietta Lacks. You have a choice to make, whether to join this family in righting the wrongs or to continue to be complicit and condone the medical racism. Let's be honest about what it is. It is medical racism. And this is our opportunity to give genetic justice to the Lacks family. In conclusion, just as her cells have benefited generations of the world's population over the last 70 years, and my co-counselors will go into detail of the great benefits to science that was derived from Henrietta Lacks' body, from her cells. We come here only to say, why can't her family, her generations of yet unborn children benefit from the cells that have benefited the world? We think it's only the right thing to do. This is historic, not just because it would benefit her family, but finally America can come to grips with trying to do better, to be better when it comes to medical racism. At this time, you will hear from one of the best trial lawyers in America, hands down, and that is Attorney Chris Seeger, who his firm, along with Attorney Parker and us, have worked tirelessly to make sure that we could file this lawsuit on the 70th anniversary of when Henrietta Lacks left this earth, largely due in part to the pain that was caused on her body when they went and cut into the cancerous cells, causing them, right hope, to proliferate, to speed up her death. They were not trying to save this black woman. They were just trying to use her. We're better than this, America. 70 years later, let's prove it. Attorney Seeger.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to be very brief. It was a great honor for Ben to ask me to join him in this. I think Ben is one of the, if not the top lawyer in this country for social justice. And it's also great to be working with Kim Parker. She's a phenomenal lawyer who you'll hear from. More importantly, though, I want to thank the family for the trust that they put in me and the attorneys to represent them in this cause. Our country has a terrible history related to the medical community and the pharmaceutical community exploiting and experimenting on black people. Thermo Fisher Scientific is continuing that exploitation by doing nothing for the family while they claim credit for the genetic material of Henrietta Lacks. It's kind of a crazy notion. So where I do most of my fighting is not here, it's in that courtroom. I'm looking forward to the fight in there. And if anybody's wondering why only Thermo Fisher Scientific, why are they the only defendant? They shouldn't feel too alone because they're going to have a lot of company very soon. That's all I really have to say. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for the honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. He's underplaying the fact that he's going to say a lot more when we get in the court of law. I have often said when black people fight for justice, we have to fight in two courts. First, in the court of public opinion, and if we're successful there, then maybe, just maybe, we get an opportunity to fight in the court of law. We know this is an unprecedented case, and we have to continue to make sure that the court of public opinion know that, just as Martin Luther King said, when they say stuff is legal, that still doesn't make it right. And if they try to tell this family 70 years later that it was legal what they did to Henrietta Lacks, we know that don't make it right. And so that's why we're united as a legal team, united with this family. And we are so proud to have a great lawyer who hails here in Baltimore, Maryland, fighting with us on the forefront of history. And that is Attorney Kim Parker, who, as a black woman, is very personal to her what we're fighting for. Attorney Parker.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kim. You might take over now.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here in the company of two of the greatest lawyers in America, Mr. Benjamin Kump and Mr. Chris Seeger. I am honored to be a part of the legal team representing the Lacks family. 70 years after their grandmother, mother suffered at the hands of Johns Hopkins Hospital, which is no more than a few miles down the road for those of us who live in this area, a well-established medical facility who engaged in what clearly was medical tyranny. It is unacceptable that 70 years after this woman died, that corporations all over the globe, as one person mentioned, what has been done with her cells could wrap around the world 3 times. That's how much that she has benefited humanity. But yet her family stands here having received $0. These corporations have become billionaires, trillionaires in some instances when you add up all of the money that has been made at the expense of Henrietta Lacks. And yet none of that money has endured to the benefit of this family. That is a disgrace. It is unacceptable. And I hope that America joins us in saying enough. The bodies of black people in this country has been at the behest and at the whim of not just corporate America, of America's wealthy for a very long time. It is time for us to say enough is enough. And we encourage the defendant in this matter to stand on the right side of history, to do the right thing by this family, to be the first to step forward and say, you know what, we take corporate responsibility for our legacy, for the fact that we will continue to make billions of dollars long after this generation has passed, that they will continue to perpetuate and build their wealth, to transfer that wealth to their families, and yet the family of the women whose cells originated their wealth and continue to perpetuate their wealth will receive nothing. That is unconscionable, and in a country as great as America should not stand. We should all be affronted by that. We should all say enough is enough. Time for some equitable sharing of the wealth that was created by the immortal cells of Henrietta Lacks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Kim Parker. Corporate responsibility. That is a profound statement, and when you look at the contents of our lawsuit, we talk about the legal theory of unjust enrichment. Boy, never have we seen unjust enrichment at the despair of one family like we've seen in this case. I mean, multiple corporations have made billions and billions of dollars compared to the Lacks family making zero. I mean, even my 8-year-old daughter can understand how unjust that is. And so we stand firm with the family to say that in the state of Maryland, we hope that the legal maxims of unjust enrichment, restatement on restitution, will apply to Henrietta Lacks, that she won't get the same disparate treatment in the courts that she got in the hospitals. At this time, the people who know her best, her family, will address you. We're going to send an order from her oldest children to youngest children's children. And so with that, we will ask Mr. Ron Lacks, the son, the eldest son of Lawrence Lacks Sr., to come before you. Mr. Lacks.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Take your time to speak loud.
It's about time. Here, 70 years later, we mourn Henrietta Lacks, and we will celebrate taking back control of Henrietta Lacks' legacy. This will not be passed on to another generation of Lackses.
Amen.
We stop here, and we move forward to get control of Henrietta's legacy, and I would like to restore my family's honor. Throughout the years of watching my family go through what they went through, my dad being ignored in courthouses, my grandmother defamed by, she had to sign her name with the X. My grandmother had beautiful penmanship. It's in my book, Henrietta Lacks, The Untold Story, where I share my stories of my family's plight to get here where we are today. And God brought us here together over these 70 years. It wasn't time back then. It's time now. The time is now.
The time is now.
I went through this with my family, trying with this lawyer and that lawyer, but God had a plan. He brought Chris and Ben to my side through Texas, the only place I went to have a book signing. And through that congregation, I met someone that knew Ben Crump. And that's how we got here today. God is good, I tell you. He brought me here. So I just want to say to my family, thanks for backing me up with my book. Everyone is on board, and the Lacks family is here together today to let the world know we want our family legacy back. Not only my grandmothers, but the family, through my aunt. The rumors of that she was crazy. No, she was not. Dale was a good-hearted, kind person. And while somebody would start that narrative, just typically stereotyping this black family, which should stop here now today, because we're going to take back and take charge of the Lacks family legacy. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Chris.
And now we will hear from Ron's brother, the younger son of Lawrence Lacks Sr., Lawrence Lacks Jr.
Thank you, everybody, and good morning. First of all, I want to give thanks to my brother and his lovely wife, Hope, for diligently staying on task with this project. Because without this book, the other side, the real side, will never be told. So I want to give my brother and his wife props and honor today for keeping the legacy alive through your book. Second of all, I want to share a story that I was going through my brother's Facebook page, and it was an old podcast with him and a Baltimore star DJ, one of the guys. So he asked about why haven't y'all case been settled yet? And then my brother said something to the fact that, well, the lawyers we got, we're in their backyard, so I guess they was afraid. But the brother that was giving the interview to my brother, he said, you know what, Brother Lacks? He said, our God has hundreds of lawyers, and they're the best. And that brings us to the day right now where you're looking at Ben Crump, Mr. Chris Seeger, and Kim, I can't realize your name. If you hanging with these cats, you up top too. So that came true because he told them, he said, my God has powerful lawyers, and he sent the most powerful to get us along on this task. And I'd like to thank everybody that, especially my family, Alfred, Kim, their lovely wives, my wife Lisa, because money brings division. And when you talk about money, money will set people apart. Friend against foe, brother against brother. But I'm here to tell you that the Lacks family is united, and we're going forth with keeping our grandmother's legacy alive by introducing you to our lawyers, Mr. Ben Crump and Mr. Chris Seeger. So y'all know what y'all in for, and we're here. Have a good day.
You want to introduce your family?
Oh, let me introduce you. Come here, Jay. Little grandson Zayden, soccer player, just scored the big goal in the game Saturday, right? So what you gonna get? $5 foot long.
Hold on. Pick them up one more time for a second. Yeah, if you have any question what this fight is about, it is about his future. This is Henrietta Lacks, flesh and blood. And what his mother and father and uncles and aunts are trying to do is to make sure that the burden doesn't fall on him to fight for the legacy of Henrietta Lacks. So this is what we're fighting for. We give you ocular proof of what this fight is about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will have David Sonny Lacks' daughter, Kim Lacks, speak to you about her grandmother's legacy and how it had an effect on not just her father, but their whole family. Miss Kim Lacks.
Good morning. My name's Kimberly Lacks, and I'm the daughter of David Sonny Lacks, as indicated. And first and foremost, I have to thank Ben Crump and Craig Seeger and Kim Parker for being here representing our family. And as I've been hearing all morning, we got the best of the best. So I feel so confident that my dad, my uncle, my aunt who's no longer here, Dale, and other family members are going to be extremely pleased to know that we finally going to get the justice that we deserve. I think about my grandmother, as I said before, laying in that hospital room and how they came in there when she had radiation going through her body and horrific pain, but all they were concerned about was taking cell tissues from her body. That's terrible.
Terrible.
And then on top of that, no one in the family had any idea. They act like she was alone. They didn't reach out to her husband, her aunt, her cousins, anyone to let them know what was taking place. That's disgraceful. And that definitely is racism, in my opinion. The family was treated, she was treated horribly. My father, one thing I can say about him is he's a sweet man. And he always said that who wouldn't want a pocket full of money? Everybody wants money, but it's a bigger picture. But he did say to me, and he's sickly, but he was very happy and excited to know that we're finally going to get justice, for Henrietta Lacks, for his mother. And that's one thing that I think will bring this whole family together, because we have been divided over these years since this book's been released. It's been a lot of division within our family, but prayerfully, everything will come together with this great representation that we have and the justice that the Lacks family will finally get. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam.
And this is Roger Willoughby.
Thank you very much, Cam, for pouring out your heart. Next, we will have Deborah Lacks, represented here by her son, Alfred Carter, to speak his truth about his mother and about the legacy of his grandmother, Mr. Alfred Carter. And he will introduce his wife, Miss Jewel Carter, as well.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Alfred Lacks Carter. I'm the proud grandson of Henrietta Lacks and the son of Deborah Lacks. This is my wife, Jewel Carter. Today, our family stands in solidarity together for justice for Henrietta Lacks. We honor Henrietta by taking action of equity, not only for Henrietta Lacks and her family, but for all black and brown people around the world.
Yes. Yes.
From this day on, our family will control the narrative. No longer will outside entities be able to advocate for this family. We have a voice, we're together, and we're standing together as a family. You know, we have our own initiatives, you know, one by one, each one of us. You know, we honor Henrietta Lacks through art, advocacy, education, and research. You know, my mother was not crazy, as Ron stated. Henrietta Lacks was not illiterate. She was very intelligent. She was not poor. So this family is standing together, and we're putting each and every one of you on notice. It stops here.
It stops here.
It stops here.
Stops.
Henrietta Lacks lives through us.
Amen.
Say her name.
Henrietta
Lacks. Thank you.
Very well said, Alfred Carter. The final family member you will hear from this evening is the son of Joseph Abdul Lacks, Mr. Jason O'Neill, who will tell you about how important this is to his father and their family. So please give the charity of your attention to Mr. Jason O'Neill. Jason?
How you doing? My name's Jason O'Neill, Zachariah's father, and just some of the conversations. Some of the conversations that we had in the past. I know for sure that he will be ecstatic for this day and the things, the movements and the process that we're doing now. I know he'll be so happy, and 2 thumbs up, I guarantee you. And I wish he could be here so he'd say his own words, but that's how it is. So I'm speaking for behalf of him, and I'm letting you know that he will be very, very happy for today's turnout and the way we're going as of now. Thank you.
What you tell him when your father passed?
Father passed last year, and it's a rough one because unforeseen incidents, I couldn't make it, so it just makes it a little hard on me. And
No, you're fine. You're fine, bro.
Wish I could have been there, but in spirit I was. And love my father, love my family, trying to get in contact. And
Yeah. We together, man. We together.
yeah,
Thank you, Jay.
thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Before we have questions and answers, if we can get everybody kind of back close so we can start the Q&A. I will say this, you know, America is alleged to be at a point of racial reckoning in the aftermath of the tragic killing of George Floyd. Many of these corporations, including the pharmaceutical companies, vow that they were going to have a social justice commitment. Well, to the pharmaceutical companies who have all immorally benefited from the sales stolen from Henrietta Lacks, this black woman who was made to endure tremendous pain and suffering. This is your opportunity to honor your commitment, this pledge you've made. In the aftermath of George Floyd being tortured to death, we remember 70 years ago, Henrietta Lacks tortured even worse of a death than George Floyd. When you think about the days, the weeks, the months she laid in that bed in agony. In her own words, when they told her you were now infertile, what kind of mental anguish do you think they had on that black mother? She said that if they would have told her that she would be infertile once they did this procedure, she would never have consented to it. They were in the most wicked ways doing things to her without her knowledge or consent. It was pure evil. And the only question is, are we going to condone that evil by being complicit today? To Thermo Fisher and all the other companies, this is your opportunity to show us, not with your words, but with your actions, that you will honor your commitment to do right, your social justice commitment, because this is about genetic justice. This notion of passing justice from one generation to another. We are asking you to divorce yourself from the ugly history of slavery that said black people were chattel property. Just as you're trying to say today that the sales of Henrietta Lacks is chattel property. Well, it isn't. It's her genetic makeup. She was real. Her flesh and blood lives on today, not in test tubes. But if I can have her flesh and blood lives on today in her family. And you have to honor that her family is her descendants. Henrietta Lacks' life mattered, her family matters, and Black Lives Matter. Thank you. We'll take your questions, if there are any. Yeah. Certainly. I think this lawsuit will impact the community from whence Henrietta Lacks came from and their family lived for a number of years, because it would say that they matter, that they were not irrelevant, that they were not illiterate, that this beautiful black woman was not only beautiful, but she was intelligent. She had a mind. She had a heart. She was a human being, not a lab rat. And even though the doctors 70 years ago at Johns Hopkins treated her like a lab rat, the question is, today, will we continue to treat her like a lab rat? That's what this is about. This isn't complicated. Are we going to do the right thing? Or are we going to continue to condone this ugly history of racism? Your silence speaks volumes. Any other questions?
Can you talk a little bit about the legality of the argument and how you'll be, without giving away too much, how you'll be arguing the case?
Certainly. I'll have Attorney Seeger and Attorney Parker talk a little bit about some of the legalities. I've talked a lot.
You know, it's a pretty straightforward claim. We've alleged, as Ben said, unjust enrichment, which pretty much means that they knew that they were operating with profiting off of stolen material, her genetic material, which only she or her family can own. They've created thousands of products. I mean, if you're not familiar, I'll just give you a very short list. The polio vaccine, the COVID vaccines. Merck has a product called Gardasil, which treats HPV, which causes cervical cancer. Sunscreens, hundreds and hundreds of products. Makeup. So when, I mean, putting aside products like that, when Ben says this is the cornerstone of modern medicine, almost all medicines that have been developed and marketed have been tested on these cells. I mean, they are truly miracle cells. So every time a company does that with knowledge that they're working with stolen material, they are enhancing their claim against the company. And that's where we are today. We're gonna, as Ben said, these companies all they've had an opportunity for 70 years to step up and do the right thing. Johns Hopkins, all these other companies, pharmaceutical industry, companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific, maybe they thought they would just go away quietly, but we're here to let the world know we're not going away quietly.
Amen.
It starts today. Yeah.
Amen. Attorney Parker, would you like to say a word about that?
I just want to, as Chris and Ben has said, remind everyone that there are whole industries that's been created behind the cells of Ms. Henrietta Lacks. These HeLa cells are the cornerstones of many, 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 many corporations. And it would seem to me that just out of a sense of decency, that they would at least want to see the family of the persons whose genetic material they co-opted. They actually stole, received some portion of the massive amounts of wealth that they have accumulated. Where is that sense of responsibility? Where is that sense of, you know, I have to pay homage to the what they call the HeLa line, cell line, by at least financially compensating some portion of the vast wealth that has accumulated. And it's unconscionable that they continue to dismiss black bodies. And Henrietta Lacks, unfortunately, is only one of many that has been subjected to this type of dismissive, abusive treatment. And as much as we hold Johns Hospital in great reverence and regard for being a internationally known hospital, there's a dark history of which medical tyranny is not, you know, germane to Johns Hopkins. There's plenty of hospitals all over the world that has done that, in particular here in America. And I just want to say one final thing. We live in the greatest, supposedly greatest democracy in the entire world. We have a constitution and a Bill of Rights that guarantee us certain freedoms, that guarantee us that we have a right to privacy, we have a right to happiness and the pursuit of liberty, that we have a right to our bodies and to the integrity of our bodies. What make black lives any less valuable than any other life?
Yep.
Why is it that Henrietta Lacks' life is of no value? Why is it her family should not receive some justice for what happened to their loved one? It is unconscionable, and corporate America needs to stand up and do the right thing. And I hope America puts the pressure on them to let them know we are better than that. You know,
Amen.
we are better than that.
Yeah. Thank you, Attorney Parker and Attorney Seeger. To answer your question very simply, this lawsuit is about the estate of Henrietta Lacks, the beneficiaries being able to define her legacy, to benefit from her legacy, and to pass on her legacy to her children's children yet unborn. This is about Black Lives Mattering, not just in theory, but in reality. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, we will keep you updated. You can get a copy of the lawsuit by emailing press@bencrump.com. On behalf of Attorney Seeger, Attorney Parker, and most importantly, on behalf of Henrietta Lacks' children and grandchildren, we are demanding that these corporations finally compensate them for what was taken from them, that have made them untold riches. This is your time, to the pharmaceutical companies of America, to live up to your oath of social justice by giving this family their justice that will become a foundation for genetic justice in America and the world. Thank you.
Have a heart.
Have a heart. You did great. You did great. Yeah, we want to do a group photo. They want to do a group photo.